Boy, you know what time it is.
Welcome to the Bromigos podcast.
I need it!
Hey, how are you?
This is amazing.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to another edition of the Bromigos podcast, episode 53. It's your boy Hoochieman holding it down.
And of course, it's the Undercover Brotha. Although there's not any brothers with us in today's show because Mike and Dante both called out, unfortunately. So we are now renaming this episode the Mighty Whitey Podcast. It's looking very pale out in here, Hoochie Man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is about as tame as I've been over the last few years because I've just been working a lot. But
I don't know what the fuck's going on with my lighting in the goddamn YouTube video here, but it's like keeps going dark, keeps going light. So I'm just like, I don't know if I look tan or if I look like fucking grayed out or whatever the fuck. But either way, hey, before we start today's episode, Hoochie Man, I want to do a little bit of a PSA if you don't mind. Just for all the people that listen to this show and listen to the episodes and enjoy our content, we would appreciate if you would, follow the show. If this is your first time listening, we would appreciate if you would share the episodes of the show so that it can help the Bromigos grow. If you love our content, help the bros out, support us. We greatly appreciate it because we enjoy bringing you guys this content that we give you every single week. And we would appreciate as we continue to grow if we get some help from our Bromigos fan base. So that is my PSA.
yeah,
Anything you'd like to add?
Show some love. Show your support, man.
Show some love. And I'm sure we'll say something very out of pocket as we close the episode because we always do when it comes to the YouTube anyway.
Yeah. I'll say don't be afraid to leave feedback too on Spotify, Apple Music, even YouTube, or tweet us something. We might look at it, talk about it.
I will read it. Like most of the time, depending on the clips I put up online, it's either people agree with us or people don't like the video or don't like our opinions or something, which is fine. Everybody can disagree or agree how they want. It's a free country after all. But if you leave feedback on the show, I'll gladly read it on air. So yeah, that would be awesome. So we got a pretty, I would say like light news week this week. I mean,
yeah, somewhat.
The biggest story as far as like locally goes has been actually in your neck of the woods, Hunter.
Yeah, somewhat. The convict that escaped has finally been caught after a 2-week hiatus from his jail facility. I don't know specifically what jail he was in, but he did some Looney Tunes ass escape and was on the run.
I don't know how the fuck he broke out. It was supposed to be like some pretty decent security in that prison, and I guess the guard that was there, I think he got fired. I think at this point now, he somehow let him go. I don't understand. So it's actually funny though. Part of the reason I wanted to touch on this is because when I was in AC a couple weeks back for like a get together with another podcast that I support, there was a gentleman there that was actually a Pennsylvania state trooper. Now I won't say his name. I won't put his business out there for obvious reasons, but he got a call. Like this was as the guy had broken out because he was out for almost like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And
he escaped on my birthday.
Really?
Yeah. It was that same day.
So that weekend, that Saturday was when he was still out, and we're all in AC. We're all partying. We're at this bar. We're drinking before we went to the club. He gets a call from his superior officer, and he's like so hyped up. I'm like, yo, what's up? But what's going on? He's like, we have a time frame and we just got authorized to use deadly force on this motherfucker. Because it was just coming up on the news because there were TVs in the bar. So he not only had deadly force authorized, they had a time frame of which they were going to go look for this dude because I guess he was moving around so much they needed every state trooper they could get. And I have a photo here that I'm going to pull up here. So if you guys want to check out the YouTube version of this, go right ahead. So this is the photo that was taken after the convict was captured. What the fuck is this guy's name again? Danilo Cavalcante.
Yeah.
So here, I have a lot of questions about this photo, though, to be honest. And I'm not sure, you probably can't answer them because this story is just so crazy. But why the fuck is everybody wearing camo?
That's just how they are because they were looking for him in the woods, and I guess
that's true.
that's why they had their, and I guess that's just their uniform too. I'm just assuming, but it all, like I said, camo, it blends in if you're in the woods, which is where this guy was supposedly hunting out or hiding out.
Well, he actually broke into a couple of like residential houses and shit too. I had a PSA in the beginning of the episode, but this is another PSA for everybody. I don't care where the fuck you live. You can live in the safest neighborhood in the world. Why the fuck would you leave your garage doors open? This motherfucker here, he got into a garage that was open, stole like some clothes because he kept changing his appearance so that they couldn't track the dude. So he stole clothes. Then he got a gun somehow. I don't know if this is the same house or not. He got a gun and like a pair of boots to, I guess, keep traveling the woods and shit. And I think he was trying to get into another neighborhood at some point, and I guess that's where they got him. Crazy shit. And this wasn't that far off from you either, if I remember correctly.
No, this is somewhere in Chester County, some neck of the woods over there. It's not too far. It's like a half-hour drive, but yeah, glad they got the guy. And of course, they find him in an Eagles hoodie. And
I was gonna say, you Eagles fans. Well, not you because you're a Steelers fan, but Mike's gonna shit on me when he hears this. So it's like, oh, you Eagles fans, look at you, escaped convicts. I knew y'all were thugs. But seriously though, what was I gonna say? My uncle actually lives like a half hour away from there too. I'm not sure if he's in the same area as you or not, but he lives in PA, and he got like he had like a call or text from like the police department saying, "Hey, we caught the guy." So it was like their version of the Saddam Hussein, ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I suppose so. And also, I don't know if you heard about this, but the Governor Shapiro said whoever's Eagle jersey or hoodie that was, he'll like, oh, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. So basically, he's going to give him like another hoodie, but it's the Kelly Green one for whoever's hoodie that is. Which everyone's going to say, "Oh, that was my hoodie." No one. No.
To be fair, that hoodie looked dirty as fuck. So for all I know, it could have been Kelly Green already. It's just that he's been traversing the woods and all the rain and all the mud that's been going on.
A gray hoodie.
You sure that's great? Maybe I'm colorblind then. I mean, I am colorblind, but it looked like it was some sort of green to me. But what the fuck do I know? Anyhow, speaking of politicians, I have an incredibly fucked up story to tell. Now, this is a story that I also covered on my other podcast, and I am going to bring it here because knowing us and how we feel about politicians, as well as how some of us feel about sex work, whether we agree or disagree, that's besides the point. There was a story that broke early last week, like midweek, as we record this on Thursday, and this will go up on Monday. A Virginia politician who's in a race for like some sort of local government position in Richmond, I think. She got ousted for doing sex work like a year or two prior to her actually running. So I have a couple articles pulled up here. This one's from Fox News that I'm going to read a few quotes from here. So Virginia Democratic candidate running for the Commonwealth's House of Delegates is being accused of performing sex acts with her husband in front of an online audience and encouraging viewers to send them tip money. So for those of you that don't know, not that I would know.
Clearly you would know.
Not that I would know, but I do happen to talk to a lot of people that work in the industry. But she was doing camming. She was on Chatterbait or some shit like that. So she's out here with her husband doing these fucking Chatterbait streams, and she is like begging. Well, not begging. That's the wrong term to use. She's asking for tips to do more stuff because it's like, oh, I'm not gonna have him put it in my ass. You got to pay me money for that sort of thing. That's kind of how. That's the only like closest thing I can compare it to. So she's a nurse practitioner, and her name is Susanna Gibson, who is she's running in a very competitive race right now, apparently. And she's a 40-year-old mother of two who it said she had more than a dozen videos that were archived on a site in September of 2022, which was last year now. And that's when she officially entered the race. So the most recent video that was archived was the 30th of 2022. These videos, as far as I know, are no longer able to be accessed. However, somehow, some way, somebody put it out there that she was doing this stuff. I don't know how it got leaked. I don't know why it got leaked. It might have been a political ploy of some sorts, but who the fuck knows? I'm only here left to speculate. Just so everybody can see what we're kind of dealing with, I'm going to share her photo, not the not safe for work one. I'm going to share her safe for work photo, professional photo on here. This is what she looks like. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you get a better idea.
Yeah, not the guy on the right, the one on the left.
Yeah, we don't want the guy on the right. Never not talking about the guy on the left. The one on the left here. She's actually attractive. Like, she's actually pretty attractive. Now, not that I was looking for this, but this is how I discovered the story to begin with. It was like a clip where there wasn't really much shown. Like, you don't really see any you don't see any titty, you barely see any ass or anything. But it was just the angle was weird. But it's a part of the streams that she was doing, and it's clearly her because it's the whole same. You know how sometimes when people do fake out shit, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the person, but it's not her. It's just like a face swap of some sort, or it's just someone that looks eerily similar to them.
Yep.
Doppelganger type shit. I made sure I really looked into this before I started talking about this story on any show I was on. It's her. It's her. She's
her. She
is her. She is her. So, man, but as I was going to say, I mean, she's attractive. She's attractive. Like, shit. Would I pay money to see her do what she was doing? No, I'd rather be the person in the video, but that's a different story for a different time.
I mean, don't we all want to be that person?
No, we all want to be that person, Hunter.
Hey, one of the best things on the planet, MILFs.
You know, I've never related more to anything until you said that. I love me some fucking MILFs.
Do you think that would actually help her win the election?
So that's actually a good question. That's a good question. I want to segue into that in a few minutes here because I had more stuff I wanted to read on the articles, but that's a very good question that I'm going to circle back to if you don't mind.
Gotcha. Yep.
So apparently she was doing these streams. She was reportedly violated Chatterbait's terms and conditions by soliciting tips in order to perform these acts, telling viewers she was raising money for a good cause. I think it was the campaign.
Hey, you got to raise money somehow.
I have no reason to believe that it wasn't the campaign that was the good cause. Gibson told Washington Post, who I believe broke the story or had something to do with the story breaking, that the incident represents an illegal invasion of my privacy designed to humiliate me and my family. It won't intimidate me and it won't silence me. My political opponents and their Republican allies have proven they're willing to commit sex crime to attack me and my family because there's no line they won't cross to silence women when they speak up. So there's a lot to unpack there, and for different reasons. One more time, could you repeat the question that you had before I had segued into that?
Yeah, wouldn't that, with the way some men think, and I mean most men think, especially the older ones, wouldn't this somewhat help her? Because, I mean, obviously it's gotten her name out there. If this is her first time running.
I don't know. Because here's the thing, though. It could work for her as far as, like, getting the female vote, if you ask my opinion, personally. Or it can work against her because, as we know, and as me and Dante had this discussion a couple of weeks ago, Virginia's not the most liberal state. It's very much probably a Republican-dominated state. Now, whether or not her area is Republican-dominated or not, I have no insight as to that, unfortunately. I would think that actually hurts her more than it would help her. As a man, it'd be like, oh, this is... As a man, you would think that, but I don't lean in that camp. I think that actually hurts her. Now, in my opinion, and this is kind of going off one of the quotes she used, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree with this. This is fucked up on many levels. One, because I have to kind of play both sides for both my podcasts here. One, it's outing someone for doing what she did, which is fucked up and a no-no in any way, shape, and form. That's me. That's my honest opinion. You can disagree with me if you like. But there's a line you don't cross. And I don't know. We don't know how it got out there. I have no clue how it got out there. but it's either someone in the Republicans camp that may have found out about this and put it out there, or someone was just being a dickhead and said, hey, this woman did sex work and she's running for public office. Let's ruin her life. Let's hack into her shit. Because that's happened on more than one occasion, as we all know. And what makes me sick about it is what really is an invasion of privacy is now going to be used as a political ploy by the other party, the Republican Party, who we know wants nothing to do with any kind of sex work. It's fucked up, man. It's really fucked up. I'd like to know what your opinion is.
Yeah, I feel like they are going to try and do that. They're going to show that and be like, this is who you want raising your kids or running your state or blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, that's kind of a good point. But I mean, honestly, for most people like me who really don't tend too much for politics outside of their states, this is a interesting way of getting your name out there, definitely. But yeah, I'm not all for exposing and being like, yeah, well, this woman stinks now. People have their own voices and opinions, but with the way that this is looking, I don't know. It's a huge mumbo jumbo pile of shit at the end of the day.
So let me bring up this point too, because I mentioned this on my other show when we talked about it, and I really didn't get an answer, really. For me, and this is just the way I think, and this is not shitting on sex work or politics or anything, if you knew you were going to be running in a public office, whether or not, and again, I can only be left to speculate based on some of what I've read. I can only be left to speculate that the reason she was raising this money was because for her campaign. Whether or not that's true is beyond me. I personally, knowing what I was doing at that point in time, doing the streams and things of that nature, I certainly would have been running for public office after that because, let's be honest, when you do shit like that, you're never safe. You're never safe. And that's the unfortunate truth of doing things like that, because somehow, some way, someone's going to record it. Someone's going to take a photo of it. Someone's going to do something to get it out there, especially if they don't like you, clearly. I really question what she was planning to do with that.
Yeah. If you're going to do that,
sense to me.
If you're going to do that, then probably best thing to do would be to like blur out your face or like cover it up or don't show it.
That's actually a good point. Like no face stuff is very popular in the adult industry. I would have done a mask of sorts. I think that would have been a much smarter idea. But listen, it is what it is. As shitty as it sounds, it's her bed.
Damage is already done.
Damage is done. It's her bed she now has to lie in. Whether or not that helps or hurts her, like the question you mentioned before, has yet to be seen, yet to be known. We won't know come November when that voting, because it says November 7th is the voting day for that particular region. And quite frankly, I don't really give a fuck anyway. I don't live in Virginia. I just thought this was a interesting topic to talk about. What I will say this is to anybody that lives in the area from Virginia, vote based off how you feel about the candidate and their policies, not what they do in their personal life, in their personal time, in their own home. Because let's be honest, and I will say this, Mike and Dante like to clown me for the shit I do on whiskey all the time, but it's the God's honest truth. People on either side of the fence are doing fucked up shit behind closed doors. Not fucked up shit, but they're doing some pretty dirty shit behind closed doors. They're just not going to talk about it. And some of the people, like the Republicans, are going to shame the other side for being a little bit more open about it than they are when they're probably doing the exact same thing. So vote based on how you feel about the policies of the candidate, not about your personal opinions on what they're doing in their own home. That's all I have to say. Mike drop.
I agree with the same thing. Yeah, just vote for their policies and not for any other shit. Unless they're a murderer, then yeah.
Yeah, well, unless they're fucking escaping convicts in Pennsylvania, you probably wouldn't want to vote for them, but they wouldn't have the opportunity to run for office anyway. So
I don't have the opportunity to run for long.
Well, they certainly didn't have the opportunity to run for long.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh shit, got him. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about football, shall we?
Hell yeah.
So we, in terms of real time, just passed week 1.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of fucked up shit that happened in week 1.
Yeah, that was a good bit.
The Eagles barely beat, and let's be honest, the Eagles barely beat the Patriots.
Yeah, they didn't look.
In my opinion, they
They
didn't.
had a big lead, and then they slowly let them creep back in.
Well, listen, Mike will have his opinions on that whenever he comes back. But I watched some of the game. From the period of time I was watching, the Eagles looked like they were okay. They looked like they were getting a lot of good calls, though, from the refs. So that's kind of up in the air. But this is just when I was watching. I watched a good maybe 15, 20 minutes of the game, if that. So that was that. Now, our teams, the Steelers and the Giants.
Oh, man.
Do you want to start this or should I?
I guess I'll start with mine because at least somehow mine got points, even though it was only a touchdown. And
way to rub it in, you cocksucker. Way to rub it in.
My fancy tight end. Shout out Pat Fryermuth for saving the day. But yeah, they were awful against the 49ers. I severely underestimated them. I mean,
well, the 49ers are pretty good. Like, they're not like terrible. They have a lot of good weapons.
Yeah, but the thing coming into it was Brock Purdy and his whole elbow. Is it good? Is it 100%? If it gets hit again, what's it going to be like for the offense? Brandon Ayuk just ran all over us. So did Christian McCaffrey. The offense for Pittsburgh could not do that. It was just a simple 3-and-out each. I watched the first half at work. It was pitiful to watch what was going on. It was absolutely brutal. Not to mention, Deontay Johnson got hurt. He's out for a few weeks. Cam Hayward's going to have groin surgery, so I don't know when he'll be back this season, if ever.
Groin surgery?
Yeah, it's like something with his groin. I don't know if it's like, I don't know. It's bad. But on the bright side, I can look at it is like, it's just week 1. Hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come and that, they just ran into a powerhouse of the San Francisco 49ers. But at one point during the game, when it showed the graphic of total yards, Pittsburgh only 1 and San Francisco 200.
Total yards for the half or total yards for the game?
For the game. Well, it was still in the first half, but it was up to that point.
Okay. So yeah. I saw that same graphic floating around too, and I didn't know if that was for the whole game or just that half. So I needed context for that. So
they eventually got 200 some yards of offense. Shout out Kenny Pickett. But yeah, they just didn't look good. And not to mention, like I said, I watched that entire first half. Their 2-minute offense is so much different than their regular offense. Again, Matt Canada stinks, but whenever it's in the 2-minute offense and it's just the quarterback who's calling the plays, they march right down the field, and that's the only time they scored was in their 2-minute offense to close out the first half.
Do you watch Urinating Tree on YouTube?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar.
He's as you know, is a fellow Steelers fan.
Oh yeah, Pittsburgh.
And I haven't seen the sports ball video yet. I have to, but I'm going to assume that he is ripping the fuck out of them and Matt Canada, because we all know last year he was not a fan of Matt Canada running the offense.
No logical fan on the Steelers is a fan of Matt Canada. He is just dog shit. Ever since he's come into the Steelers offense, he's done nothing but 4 verts, jet sweeps. That's about it. That's about all he's got. In short passes. Never, let's throw the long ball here, let's throw the long ball there. No. It's always short passes with Ben, okay? Short passes with Pickett. And then if they do want to go out, let's do 4 verts, right? And we'll run a jet sweep, which I didn't see, but it happened on the second play of the game, which shows just how creative Canada really is. But I feel like if this is a trend that's going to continue this season, he will get fired before week 4 or week 5. It'll
be like what Jason Garrett was to the Giants offense when he ran it with Joe Judge. He was fucking trash. His plays were nonsensical. They were fucking ass. Now, not saying that what happened to us on the Sunday night game is any better, which I'll get to in a second. But, here's what I will say. Before the Sunday night game even happened, as I guess I'll transition to the Giants now. Jason Garrett is absolutely sucking off the Cowboys. Like any opportunity he has to talk about the Cowboys on the screen, he is just gargling fucking Dak Prescott. He can't breathe. He's fucking, he can't, he's gargling him so much. I know Dante and Mike are going to fucking think I'm wild for saying this, but that's exactly what's happening. If you watch him on that pre-show, he is sucking off Jerry Jones every chance he's getting. Now, let me explain something to you about Jason Garrett. How much success did Jason Garrett actually have with the Dallas Cowboys after he took it over from Jimmy Johnson? Nothing. Nothing. The answer is nothing. He did,
got a playoff win.
He's got a playoff win. That's it. He has like 1 or 2 playoff wins to his name. He is useless. He's trash. What did he do with the Giants, as I said? Nothing. He got fired after like a year and a half, not even. So fuck Jason Garrett, that ginger cunt him. And fuck him. Just fuck him. He's useless as fuck. That's why he's doing broadcasting, because he knows he can't fucking call plays anymore because he's inept as fuck. So him fucking sucking off the Cowboys like he did something for him when he was head coach. Give me a goddamn break. Now let's talk about the actual game. Oh my God. If there was ever any one play or call or drive to just completely derail someone's momentum, that first drive by the Giants was it, man.
They looked like they had it.
I was convinced that we were going to score on that drive. And then there was some sort of false start, which was a false start. Let's not deny that. I saw the replay. I'm like, he jumped. You can't do anything about that. They'll call anything as far as a false start goes, especially against the Giants. But Jesus Christ, after that call, things just completely devolved into, I don't even know what. It's like the old saying from Tropic Thunder, everybody knows you never go full retard. Well, I mean, it seems like the Giants went full retard for the rest of that game. I don't know what to tell you. I am in literal shock. I watched not even the whole first half, and I was like, fuck this. I'm done. I can't watch this anymore. People will say, oh, you're a fucking fair weather fan. You didn't even watch the full game. I'm like, why would you watch the full game? The fans in the stands didn't even bother to stay. Third quarter, the whole fucking stadium was empty.
Yeah, not to mention, it's a torrential downpour the entire night.
Torrential downpour. So now you got to deal with the fucking rain, getting wet, watching the team lose, humiliated, mind you, in every aspect of the word. Didn't score a single time. And when they did have an opportunity to score, which was that one field goal attempt, they doinked it. So it's like, that's just the icing on the cake of everything. So, like, how do you think anybody in that stadium feels? If they wanted to leave, great. If I wanted to turn the channel and go watch something else on TV, I will fucking gladly do it. If it makes me feel any bit better about what I'm watching, that's not the New York Giants on that day.
Clearly, on that day, at the time, it was the worst event to take place in the month of September in New York. Before that day. Then the next day happened, and yeah.
I'll get to that in a second. I had something else I wanted to say, but the worst part about that Giants loss, I made a bet, okay? Not any sort of FanDuel or casino type bet. I made a bet with a buddy of mine, my buddy B-Word from the Bleach Bros podcast. He was on the show a couple weeks ago. You guys should check that out. It was a great conversation. He's a Cowboys fan, and we clowned him about it on that show. We were like, oh, why the fuck you a Cowboys fan? You live in Nevada, blah, blah, blah. So he and I, on a public comment section on Facebook, he tagged me in something, and I was like, we were bullshitting back and forth about it. And then someone else who was a friend of ours in podcasting got involved and said, you guys should make a bet. And I said, you know what? $20 is $20. I can make that back, no problem. So I said, well, B-Word, let's bet $20. He countered my offer and said $20 for both games out of the year. If you win both games, I'll pay you the 40 at the end of the season, blah, blah, blah. If I win both games, you pay me the 40, or we'll split the money if it's a split in the series, you know, if you want to call it a series. So all night he's messaging me. He's tweeting me. He's clowning me. At some point, I just stopped replying to him. B-word, you know I love you. I know he's going to listen to this. B-word, you know I love you. But at some point, I was just like, I've had enough, man. I'm trying to watch something on TV right now that's making me somewhat feel a little bit better about myself. Homie was like, he kept tweeting me. Some other motherfucker got involved too. Not on either on our sides, but he's like, oh yeah, you lost $20. I lost $100. I'm like, I tweeted back at them and said, I didn't know losing money was a dick measuring contest. You lost $100 on you lost more money than I did. At least I made a safe bet, you stupid bastard.
Oh God.
But he's like, at least I can make some of that money back, but the Giants decided not to play. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're not going to make that money back. So go fuck off and lose your $100. But yeah, I was not.
Shout out to Tony Pollard though for helping me out in fantasy. 22 points with the 2 touchdowns. That was really good. Saquon, I will say for the Giants, that first drive, it looked like, okay, they might have a chance. And yeah, that false start, and then the botch snap, and then the block field.
Yeah, the botch snap. I forgot that was the other play that fucked everything up.
It was all on that same drive where it's like, well, all the momentum has gone right to Dallas, and that's basically it. But when they were rolling, they were rolling with Saquon. They were able to run the ball. I don't know why anytime they tried to go to pass someone, nope. Hey, we got Darren Waller. Okay, caught it. Okay, and let's try to throw someone else. No, they dropped it. Okay, all right, cool. It was literally Saquon. Okay, Saquon, Darren Waller. That's their offense, and then maybe Daniel Jones or Vanilla Vic if he.
Well, you know what?
Out.
It's funny you mention Daniel Jones because a lot of people were blaming Daniel Jones for the game. And quite frankly, I don't think it was entirely Daniel Jones's fault because from what I'm seeing after that drive, it's the offensive line crumbling at every
not to mention that. Yeah, they were bad.
They were bad. And like it's like what happened when Daniel Jones was like first coming into the league. It was the same exact issue. He had no time to throw. He's scrambling around. He can't do much. So like, yeah, he had a couple of really bad throws and missed some targets here and there. But it's like, what are you going to do when you're running for your life like you were at the beginning of your career? I still don't think he's worth all that fucking money we gave him, but that's going to be yet to be seen. I'm not going to judge Jones and that contract on one game. Even as poorly as everybody played. I just have no words. I will say this much. I saw a clip. I'm not sure if you saw it. I believe it was someone that played on the Cowboys.
Micah Parsons. Yeah,
Parsons.
I know what you're talking about.
I think sacked him quite a few times. Quite a few times in that game. Micah Parsons is like, yo, it's not even Daniel Jones's fault, man. That's basically the gist of what he says. Like, it's not even Daniel Jones's fault. It ain't his. He's got a newer team. They're still trying to gel together. They have a new head coach. Well, Dable has been there for a little over a year now, but it's still a new system to try and learn, especially with all the new pieces they have.
Of all the years Daniel Jones has been there, how many times has he gotten a chance to work on year 2 with the head coach? None. Not until this year.
Every head coach he's ever had has either lasted a year or 2 years.
That's the last of the year. They're just, we'll fire him. New offensive guy. All right, we'll bring him in. No, he stinks. We'll bring someone else in. It's like he hasn't had a chance to settle in with an offensive coordinator or even
no consistency.
Head coach.
No consistency, no timed. Because, culture and camaraderie go a long way when it comes to, and maybe those are the wrong terms to use, but definitely culture and relationships built with coaches goes a long way for a player. When you're constantly rolling over, and I'm not making excuses, by the way. This is just a reality of things, of sports. When you have to constantly change coaches, and we talked about this in the NBA, with the NBA too, it's tough for newer players, especially rookies, to adjust. Because now they have to learn new systems all the time. So that's my take on the Giants game.
And at that point in time, it was the worst thing to happen in the month of September in New York.
That was one of
But then the next day happened, and
Jesus Christ!
It all went crumbling downhill.
Not entirely though. The Jets did win that game.
Yeah, but the whole
outlook of it was not good. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, shall we? I feel so bad for that fucking dude. Could you imagine? Dante said it last week. He's like, Aaron Rodgers plays an hour away now. That might be interesting to see. 4 snaps.
4 snaps.
4 snaps.
4 snaps, and his Achilles goes. Brutal.
That was brutal. And when you see it in slow motion, you see the calf snap like how it did.
Oh yeah, that's the Achilles, as I like to call it.
I was like, he's done. He's gone for the year. It's an Achilles tear. You can't do anything about that. I hate to see that happen to him. Like, I'm no Aaron Rodgers fan. Like, I'm no fanboy of his, but I was interested to see what was going to happen with him in New York, especially after causing so much of a stir for 2 years in Green Bay about wanting to leave and not having the people that he wanted to play and all that shit. Now he has seemingly a system that could work for him, and possibly even training Zach Wilson to be a better teammate and leader on the team. And lo and behold, 4 snaps, he's gone.
Yeah, that is just a brutal blow. And I have a friend who's a Jets fan, and he was like, I'm not all out on hope yet. Maybe Zach Wilson could be good, maybe not, but I definitely don't think we reach this. He's like, playoffs are doable, like it's reachable, but Super Bowl, no. He didn't have any hope there. And I don't think anyone really had any hope in the Jets after that moment. I definitely didn't have hope. I had to rely on the Jets defense to win my fantasy game, and lo and behold, that's all that the Jets needed. They got not to mention, they have a great run game going. Their pass block is suspect because that's what got Rodgers hurt, those low chop block things that they had on the defensive line, and that just wasn't going to work. But the run game did work. Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall. Oh, my God. You would have thought that Breece Hall never got hurt. He tore like a meniscus, an ACL, something, and then he's back.
I did hear he scored. So, in all honesty, I didn't watch the game, and I'll tell you why. I had no power in my house. That's why.
Oh, Deshaun got to you too? You know what? The other day this week, my power flickered on and off for a second.
When I tell you, I had a thunderstorm in my all weekend from like Friday to Monday was like thunderstorms all weekend for me in my area. And I was like, at some point, my power is going to go out because JCP&L is garbage. It's a garbage service. So 3 days of nonstop thunderstorms. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm surprised everything's holding up pretty good here. Then on Monday, literally the calmest of all the thunderstorms that I had, power goes out at like 7:30, right before the game goes on. And I had no power until like 10 o'clock the next morning.
Oh, God.
It was terrible. It was abysmal. So I couldn't watch the game. I couldn't see any of this stuff. And I was just like, I was pissed. I was genuinely upset that I couldn't watch that game, especially knowing that the Jets came back the way they did. I mean, if New York needed a miracle to win a game, who would have thought it would have been the Jets to win that game? I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, not to mention the same guy on the Jets defense got 3 interceptions from Josh Allen, which, like I said, that helped me out in fantasy quite a bit.
Bro, what the fuck happened to the Bills, though? The Bills were supposed to be were a pretty good powerhouse team in the AFC North or East or whatever the fuck it is. And
they struggled against the Jets last season.
I am genuinely shocked that the Bills lost that game. I am.
Yeah. Again, still week 1, but not a good sign if you're a Bills fan that, yeah, the game within reach the whole time. Not to mention Aaron Rodgers goes down. All you got to worry about is Zach Wilson. And
the MILF Hunter himself going back to that conversation.
Not to mention they changed the overtime rules so that both teams have a possession, even if the touchdown is scored by the team that wins the coin toss on opening drive. And
wait, they changed that rule now?
Yeah.
That go in effect this year? I didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was confusing at first because ESPN showed it where both teams have a possession regardless of if anyone scores a touchdown or not. And then the ref said the rules from last year where if the team that wins the coin toss scores a touchdown, the game's over, which it's like, well, that's not the case at all.
Well, we're asking NFL referees to be competent, and that's a different story entirely. Yeah. So that's a big ask for them. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers' crowning moment in New York is going to be him running down with the American flag for 9/11 with the spotlight on him. That's like as much as anybody's going to remember out of his run now, because I honestly think he should retire. I think he should retire now.
He probably, well, he's going to be 40, but
He's
he
going to be
probably
40.
should, but he's already said he's not going out like that. I just know, and he already posted it too. He's not going out like that.
I wouldn't want him to go out like that, but at some point in time, it doesn't matter what sport you do, when you have injuries like that and your body breaks down on you in a contact sport, at that point you're on borrowed time, in my opinion. That's just me. That's just what I think. However, there was a conversation that was had after Rodgers went down that is probably one of the most nonsensical things I have ever heard come out of someone's mouth. You had a lot of strong opinions about this. I would like to defer to you to introduce this next part of the show.
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to talk about the turf thing, which
no, it's not the turf thing. I mean, they just replaced the turf in fucking MetLife, so I don't know what. I guess it's the rain. I think it was just the rain, man. The rain had to have done something.
It did rain before the game, but it was fine for
and it rained all fucking the night before for the Giants game. So it's like, how much rain are you going to have? I mean, it is what it is. But continue. Go ahead.
Do we ever figure out what her name is? Jamil Hill or whatever, the one that worked at ESPN like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and then got fired because she was dog shit.
Give me a minute. I'll definitely look that up if you don't mind. So, like, if you give me a second and keep talking, I'll look it up while you're doing that.
Yeah. Well, she had a tweet out there about, well, Aaron Rodgers is down. The QB room in the for the Jets is very weak at the moment. Obviously, without Aaron Rodgers, it's just Zach Wilson. I don't even know who the third string is. Being honest with you, I don't know, but they were definitely in the need for a quarterback. And then this bitch had the audacity to say, "Oh, I know a quarterback who lives in New Jersey who guided a team to a NFL championship game and to a Super Bowl run, and his name rhymes with Kaepernick." Bitch. The last time Kaepernick played in the NFL, Obama was president. Okay? The game has evolved so much since he's like, but when he was still in the NFL, Pat Mahomes was in college. Pat Mahomes arguably has revolutionized the way a quarterback is supposed to play the game now. And Colin Kaepernick's like 36, 37. He's old. I know he wants to have a shot. I know I wish he would have had a shot in years prior, especially when Washington brought in Josh Johnson, a quarterback who hadn't taken a snap in a decade. That I thought was pretty stupid that he got a chance rather than Kaepernick, who, it was still a few years out from being a quarterback. But
it was Jamil Hill, by the way, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah. That bitch is dumb. That's why ESPN let her go. Yeah. Kaepernick, that whole experiment is done. It's over. He's not returning to the NFL.
I feel as though people are going to watch this part of the show and be like, oh, it's two white guys talking about Kaepernick. What do they know about what he was trying to do? All that shit. At some point,
what he tried to do.
At some point, it becomes less about what he did to be blackballed from the NFL with the whole kneeling thing or the sitting thing during the national anthem, and more about the stunts he pulled after that point, where he was trying to set up a camp to get watched by teams, and then he last minute changed the camp and no one showed up because it was some sort of publicity stunt. I don't fucking know. That was years ago. That was years ago, I think. But then there was that. There's just all the shit that that his camp keeps talking about. Why isn't he playing? Why is he doing this? Because he fucking sucked. That's really what it is. He fucking sucked. He had one good year in his rookie year, or for a second year in the NFL. And he took the team to the Super Bowl. He won the NFC Championship, and he took them to the Super Bowl, and they got fucking beat by the Ravens, I believe. Yeah. And then what they do after that point? They were nothing after that point. He was below average as a quarterback. Yes, he had this great run, but somehow, some way that fell apart. And nobody wants to fucking sign, like you said, over 30, 37 he is now?
35, 36, somewhere around there.
So, no, he's old in that department at this point. He hasn't played a professional game in, like you said, since Obama was. since Obama was president. So it's like, who gives a fuck about Colin Kaepernick at this point? Like, let it go,
Let
man.
it go.
Like,
it's gonna be 10 years from now, and then Jamil Hill's still gonna be like, well, oh, Pat Mahomes is hurt and he's at the end of his career. Well, I know a guy in New Jersey who was at the end of his career, but could still lead a team to the Super Bowl. His name rhymes with Kaepernick. It's like, bitch, stop. Let it go. I will say though,
that's like saying fucking Brett Favre should go back into the NFL now, despite being retired for all these years, and
taking money from poor people in Missouri.
After he's done taking money from poor people. Yeah, I mean, like, come on, man. Like, just stop. Like, listen, at some point, people have to come to grips with the fact that nowadays nobody gives a fuck about what he actually did, because let's be fair, it had a significant impact on maybe the socio-political, economic, trying to use big words and I'm failing miserably. He had an impact on the political, it had an impact politically on the nation. But as far as the game goes, it didn't change the fact that he was still below fucking average as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's like, and plus, what's that going to do for guys like Zach Wilson? Because Zach Wilson was the starting quarterback beforehand too. So it's like, what are they going to do? Bench Zach Wilson for a guy that hasn't played in 7 years?
I mean, I will say though, I'm looking at his career stats. They're not too shabby.
What's the stats then, if you don't mind reading them?
Well, statistically, throughout his career, he's gotten over 12,000 passing yards, 72 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. His longest touchdown pass was 80 yards. He was sacked 171 times. Oh boy, that's a lot.
That's probably an offensive line problem more than anything, but so I don't hold that against him, but.
And his rushing is what kind of set him apart from the rest, which that might be his only attribute, really, if I'm being honest. Still,
so he's about average. He's an about average quarterback.
He's got exactly 2,300 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns throughout his career. And the way I see it, you remember Cordell Stewart from the Steelers back in the 90s?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
No?
You'll have to educate me on this.
He was essentially Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson. Like, he was before his time, you know? Okay. He could run, he could throw. Didn't really get him anywhere with the time that he was in. With the time in the 90s.
You're right. I mean,
that's kind of how I see Kaepernick, because I'm looking at it and it's like, it's not too far off from what we see some quarterbacks like maybe Joe Burrow could do, Mahomes maybe. I mean, obviously passing is better than Kaepernick, but as far as the running concerned, he was so essentially this is going to be a stretch, but Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson. And I'm talking about just running like a mobile quarterback, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, you can also make an argument for Michael Vick.
Oh yeah, Michael Vick too. He was like one of a kind, and really there were no teams that could say, oh, well, we can get someone better than him, because no, it was mostly at the time just pocket passing QBs like Brady, Manning, Phillip Rivers. Drew Brees could run a little bit. Ben Roethlisberger. It was guys who could sit in the pocket, extend plays. Stafford was a little more, but
he was like, I think he was a little bit more of a pocket passer going back to his time in Detroit. I mean, like, Stafford was just coming into his career at that point. So, yeah, but I see what you're saying. I mean, like, the mobile QB has not been something that has been prevalent up until recent years, which I would agree with. But that doesn't change the fact that
his play regressed. His passing regressed.
Everything regressed. So it's
not to mention he was asking for way too much money.
Yeah. The money has to justify what the value of the player is, or the value of the player has to justify how much he's getting paid. And quite frankly, Kaepernick should never play another NFL game again, because his value is not justified for the amount of money that he's asking. I mean, like I said, you have Zach Wilson now, who's, despite his issues in previous years that he's had leading a team, Rodgers is still part of the team. He could still give him pointers. Not saying Rodgers in his recent years has done any better, but still. But that's all I have to say about that. So,
not to mention, at the time, Kaepernick, right, last 3 seasons, while his numbers were subpar, they were okay here and there. The last 3 seasons, going back to 2014, and mind you, the previous 2 seasons, Here's all the seasons when Kaepernick was the head honcho at QB. 11-4-1, 2012. That's when they went to the Super Bowl. 12-4. And then
was it when they went to the Super Bowl? Because I thought that's when the
2012 was when
Giants
they-
won the Super Bowl.
2012 is the 2012 NFL season is when they went. The Giants was 2011.
Okay, you're right then.
Yeah, so 2012 season they went 11-4-1, went to the Super Bowl. 2013 they went 12-4. They infamously lost the NFC Championship game to Seattle, which they went on and bludgeoned the Broncos to death at MetLife. 2014 they went 8-8, didn't make the playoffs. 2015 5-11. 2016 they went an abysmal 2-14 with Potato Chip Kelly as the head coach, and then that's when Kaepernick's like, I want to get paid. I feel like I'm worth $20 million. I think that's the number, somewhere around there. It was an absurd number at the time, and it's like, no, we're not going to do that. Plus, your off the field stuff is putting a bad light on our team. We're going to let you go. And no one's given him a chance since. And as time has gone on, the game has progressed on with mobile quarterbacks galore, but you need to be accurate. You need to do this. You need to do that. And then running backs, that part's starting to fizzle out too, surprisingly. And he's in his mid-30s. There's running backs that don't even make it to their 30s now. And I mean, that could be the only position that he has a shot at. But it's just the game's moved on, man. They've moved on.
The game, he left. He basically forced himself out of the game, and in doing so, the game left him behind. That's just the God's honest truth. It's no hate. It's just the fact of what things are. The game left him behind.
I mean, USFL's calling, the XFL's calling, Canadian football's calling.
He could have done any
out there.
He could have done any of those.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, even if he did some of that and he showed out pretty good, at least he'd
If
have a case.
Karen can be a quarterback in the XFL. Colin Kaepernick can. I don't know why he hasn't chosen that realm because, I mean, be realistic. He's not getting another shot in the NFL. He's too old now, too rusty. USFL, XFL would probably be best chances. He could take the Canadian football route, but
listen, he could have taken a Canadian football route after he was out of the NFL, but he didn't do that either. So it's really more his doing at this point than anything. I'm sure people were probably telling him, "Hey, there's other avenues now for you to go and play football." And he probably is still gonna be that
especially
martyr.
today. I mean, he wants to be back in the NFL. It's just not going to happen. You got to say
he wants to be a martyr. Is what he wants to be.
You got to lower your standards. You got to lower it. I mean, XFL. There's still going to be a good bit of people watching that. And even USFL, somewhat. I'm like iffy with it. XFL though, that's a pretty good market.
It could be, but yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap up the show, Hoochie Man.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there's not much more that we could say that hasn't already been said. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned urinating tree before. He had a funny quote that I'll read. He said something along the lines of, Colin Kaepernick should be a QB for the Jets now that Rodgers is gone. And he said something like, and I would like Margot Robbie to date me. So I would like to ask her out on a date. Both of those are not going to happen. So,
you got, like I said, you got to set your standards to a realistic point of view and just realize that it's not going to happen.
That applies to any facet of life. Let's be honest. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 53 of the Bromigos podcast, named for this week and this week only, the Mighty Whitey Show. The Pale Avengers.
Yep. Eventually, that's exactly what it is.
That's essentially what we are, the Pale Avengers. You can check out our show on a multitude of different platforms, including, but not limited to, Apple, Spotify, Google, TuneIn, Pandora, Amazon, the Good Pods app, so many apps. If you have a podcasting platform, search up the Bromigos podcast. Trust me when I tell you, there's not a lot of them that are still active. We're probably one of the few, if not one of the only, that are actually active. So subscribe to our show and get entertained every single week. We pour one out to our friends, Hoochie Man, Date Money and Panama Red, who couldn't make it for us this week. We still love you guys. We'll hopefully see you again for episode 54. Twitter, at Bromigos Pod. Follow us there. Facebook and Instagram, the Bromigos Pod. TikTok, the Bromigos Podcast. How would you like to tell them about the YouTube?
if you don't subscribe to the YouTube, your Achilles or Achilles is going to be like Aaron Rodgers, snapped in two, going to be wiggling all over your leg. You don't want that happening. You don't want to rehab. So subscribe, avoid that, because you could really tear it at any given moment. Hey, your dog's running around your leg. Oh, get away from me. Oh, my Achilles is broke. See, it could be that easy.
Or that actually might work out in your favor, because then you'll have nothing to do because you can't walk anyway. So you can just sit and watch all the YouTube clips that we have. So it can work out in your favor.
It could.
It could. Also, thank you to Full Swap Radio, syndicating episodes of our show every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Please adjust them to your standard time zone. Ladies and gentlemen, for bros, broettes, across the world listening to this podcast, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the support that you give us. Please, once again, share the show if you enjoy what we do. Help us grow, and take care of yourselves and take care of each other. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
You've been listening to the Bromigos podcast.
Fuck you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I beat him.